They handed over the infertile alien queen, yet the human. The cold metal of the docking bay reflected the pale light of distant stars, casting long shadows across the floor. The hum of machinery and the faint hiss of pressurized air filled the air like a low, constant heartbeat. Captain Jerk had stood in this station before, overseeing cargo transfers, prisoner exchanges, even diplomatic missions, but today felt different. Today, they were not just receiving a shipment or a visitor, they were receiving the alien queen, and the galaxy had been told she was infertile. He adjusted the strap of his utility harness and scanned the bay. The transport pod glinted under the overhead lights, a sleek, elongated shape made to protect what, or who, was inside. Rumors about the Queen had circulated for years. Her people, once feared across 3 sectors, had been losing influence, their power dwindling under internal strife and external attacks. She was supposed to be the last hope of her species, and humans were now her guardians. "Do you think she'll even survive the transfer?" Lieutenant Mara asked, her voice low as she stepped beside him. She was young, sharp, and unafraid to speak her mind, the kind of officer Jerk trusted in a fight. Jerk didn't answer immediately. He studied the pod again, noting the faint shimmer of energy fields around it, designed to stabilize the occupant. "I don't know," he said finally. "But whoever is watching this thinks we're just getting an empty shell. That's exactly why this is dangerous. No one believes the Queen could still be alive or capable of anything." The doors to the docking bay hissed open, and a small procession of humans and aliens began moving the pod toward the center of the floor. Security drones hovered above, scanning every corner while armed guards flanked the transport. Jerk stepped forward as the pod approached its docking station, a feeling of anticipation coiling tight in his chest. This was history in the making. He just hoped they weren't too late. The pod landed with a soft thud. The energy fields around it pulsed and shimmered, then dimmed as the bay's systems locked it into place. Jerk walked closer, his boots clanging against the metal floor. He could feel the weight of every eye in the room, all waiting for him to act. "Open the pod," he ordered. A technician at the controls hesitated, fingers hovering over the interface. "Sir, the protocols—" "Do it," Jerk said sharply. "We don't have the luxury of waiting." One wrong move and she could be dead before we even see her. The pod hissed and clicked, its surface sliding open like the petals of a metal flower. A figure stepped out, tall and elegant, every movement precise and controlled. She was not what anyone had expected. Her skin shimmered faintly, a mix of deep blues and subtle greens, catching the lights in a way that made her look almost otherworldly. Her eyes, large and golden, scanned the room with intelligence and calm authority. She raised her head, and for a moment the room seemed to fall silent. Even the drones paused, as if uncertain whether to continue their programmed routines. "Human," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "You have been entrusted with my safety." Jerk bowed his head slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty, I am Captain Jerk. This station is under our protection until we reach safe orbit." She studied him for a long moment, tilting her head slightly. There was curiosity in her gaze, but also caution. "I see. You are capable, yet untested. Let us hope your people are as strong as you claim." Jerk felt a spark of tension. She was already testing him, judging him before any trust could be built, but he met her gaze evenly. "We'll do everything we can. Your safety is our priority." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, almost imperceptible. "We shall see." As the Queen moved past him, Jerk couldn't help noticing the way the air seemed to shift around her. It wasn't just beauty or royalty, it was presence, command, power. Something intangible yet undeniable. The transport corridor to the ship was secure, but the movement wasn't simple. The Queen's entourage included her personal attendants, slender and sharp-eyed, as well as a small cadre of human specialists who had been assigned to assist in her care. Jerk led the way, walking slightly ahead, scanning for threats, while the Queen's golden eyes followed him with silent interest. Halfway down the corridor, the emergency alarms screamed. Red lights flashed across the walls, casting chaotic shadows. Jerk's hand went to his sidearm as a deep, resonating hum filled the station. The pod's energy fields had detected a breach. Someone had attempted to interfere with the transfer. "Get her out of here!" Jerk shouted. Security teams moved instantly, forming a protective perimeter. The Queen's attendants took positions around her, shields raised. Jerk ran beside her, shielding her with his own body as automated turrets activated, firing precision bolts toward the source of the breach. Sparks flew as drones engaged the intruders, figures clad in dark armor that made them look more like shadows than soldiers. The Queen, despite her reputation for elegance, moved with astonishing speed. She ducked behind a bulkhead, then flipped backward over a low console with fluid grace, narrowly avoiding a blast. Jerk felt a surge of respect. This was not a figure to underestimate. "They underestimate you," he said quickly as they reached the next junction, panting slightly. She didn't respond immediately, eyes scanning the hallway. Then softly, almost to herself, she said, "They always do, and that is their mistake." The humans and Queen worked in tandem, instinctively falling into a rhythm. Jerk directed the security drones while she moved effortlessly among the obstacles, her presence commanding and precise. It was clear that despite being labeled infertile and supposedly weakened, she was anything but vulnerable. By the time they reached the airlock to the ship, the intruders had been repelled. Bodies of shadowed figures lay scattered, and the hum of the station's emergency systems gradually faded. Jerk checked the Queen quickly. She was unharmed, though her expression was unreadable. "You are different than I expected," he said, lowering his voice as the doors of the airlock sealed behind them. "Expectations are rarely accurate," she replied simply. There was no malice in her tone, only a quiet statement of fact. The ship's interior was warm compared to the cold metal of the station. The human crew moved quickly, securing the Queen's chamber and checking all systems for potential sabotage. Jerk watched as she approached a viewing panel, looking out at the endless stars. "They handed me over as if I were a relic," she said quietly, almost to herself. "As if my life and my purpose no longer matter." Jerk stood behind her, unsure whether to speak. He had seen pride and power before, but something in her tone, something raw and human in its frustration, made him hesitate. "Your life, it does matter," he said carefully. "To my people and to me, we will keep you safe. We will prove that your strength is not forgotten." She turned to him, golden eyes meeting his. There was a long silence, then a slight nod. "I will see if your words are true, human. We will see if your people are worthy of this trust." The ship's engines rumbled to life, and the stars outside blurred into streaks as they prepared to jump into faster-than-light travel. Jerk felt a thrill of excitement mixed with dread. The galaxy was bigger, stranger, and far more dangerous than he had imagined. And yet, for the first time, he felt the weight of his own significance. This was not just about protecting a queen. It was about proving that humans could rise to challenges no one believed they could face. And in the quiet hum of the ship's engines, as the stars stretched and twisted beyond the viewing panel, he knew that their journey together had only just begun. The Queen returned to her panel, gaze fixed on the stars, her thoughts unreadable. Jerk stayed near, alert, aware that the events of this day were only the beginning. Somewhere out there, enemies plotted, and alliances shifted like constellations. But one truth had already begun to form. Underestimating the human, and underestimating the Queen, would be a mistake that no one in the galaxy would soon forget. And somewhere deep in the ship, beyond the metal walls and the hum of the engines, both human and alien sensed the spark of something larger than themselves, a challenge that could change the fate of countless worlds. The ship drifted through the endless black of space, its engines humming a steady rhythm that filled the cabin with a sense of movement, yet also a strange calm. Captain Jerk walked through the narrow corridors, checking the systems and making sure the crew remained alert. Despite the excitement of saving the Queen from the station, he knew the danger was far from over. Every system, every sensor, every crew member could be a target. Someone, or something, had wanted to stop the Queen, and they would try again. He reached the Queen's chamber and paused at the doorway. She stood near a viewing panel, her golden eyes reflecting the streaks of stars as the ship moved faster than light. Her posture was straight, proud, but there was a quiet intensity about her. Jerk stepped inside, careful not to startle her. "Your Majesty," he said, using the formal title out of habit. She did not turn immediately, her gaze fixed on the cosmos beyond. "Are you all right?" She finally shifted her eyes toward him, a faint nod acknowledging his presence. "I am unharmed, human," she said, "but I am curious. You claim your people are capable, yet you showed restraint at the station. Why?" Jerk blinked, caught off guard by the question. "Restraint?" "Yes," she said softly, almost like a teacher correcting a student. "You could have destroyed them, yet you did not. Why?" Jerk considered his words carefully. Because victory is meaningless if you lose what you are trying to protect. Strength without control is nothing but destruction. I protect lives, not just win fights. Her gaze lingered on him for a long moment, sharp and calculating. Then, almost imperceptibly, she smiled. Perhaps there is more to your kind than I have been led to believe. The queen moved away from the panel, walking slowly toward a small console in the room. She ran her long fingers across the surface, her movements precise and deliberate. I must speak of my people, she said. You have been told I am infertile. That is a lie, a tool used by my enemies. They sought to weaken me to remove the threat I represent. But the truth is more complex. I possess a rare ability, one that could ensure the survival of my species. If they discover this, my life is at greater risk. Jerk listened, fascinated. He had expected diplomacy and ceremony, perhaps some history lessons, but this was different. This was intelligence, secrecy, and power wrapped in one. Then we must ensure you are never in danger again, he said firmly. I will not let anyone use lies to control you. The queen tilted her head, golden eyes gleaming with interest. You speak boldly for a human. Many of your kind underestimate others, relying on brute force or luck. Yet you seem careful, observant, willing to think. This could be useful. Their conversation was interrupted by a subtle vibration running through the ship. Jerk's hand went to his sidearm and he quickly moved toward the nearest console. Sensors detect an incoming object, he said. No markings, approaching fast. The queen turned her gaze to the main screen. They are searching for me, she said, voice low but firm. I feel it. Jerk's fingers flew across the console, trying to identify the threat. It was moving too fast for normal interception, approaching the ship with clear intent. It's not a patrol, he said. It's deliberate. Someone wants to engage us. The queen's eyes narrowed. Then we will meet them on our own terms, Jerk frowned. Are you saying we should fight them? I am saying, she replied, that running will only show weakness, and weakness invites attack. Within moments, the ship's view screen filled with a shadowy silhouette, a sleek vessel that moved like a predator through space. Its hull shimmered, equipped with weapons that glinted faintly in the starlight. The enemy did not wait for warning signals. Weapons charged, and Jerk felt the first strike hit the shields with a violent tremor. Brace for impact, he shouted. Crew members dove for cover as lights flickered and the floor shuddered beneath their feet. The queen stood calmly, observing the enemy's movements. Their approach is predictable, she said. They rely on fear and intimidation, not strategy. Jerk's eyes widened. You can read them. Not just read, she replied. I anticipate. This is why they feared me and underestimated me. Working together, they coordinated the ship's defenses. Jerk fired countermeasures while the queen suggested precise maneuvers, guiding them through the barrage of energy blasts and projectiles. For a moment, the human realized that they were not just working together, they were in sync. The enemy ship hesitated, calculating their next move. Then it launched a concentrated strike aimed directly at the queen's chamber. Jerk's stomach tightened. He could not allow her to be harmed. Evasive maneuvers, he yelled. The ship twisted and rolled in space, narrowly avoiding the attack. Sparks flew across consoles as systems strained under the sudden maneuvers. Through the chaos, the queen moved calmly among the crew, her presence commanding and reassuring. Do not fear, she said. Control your panic. Fear clouds judgment. Jerk watched her, amazed. Even in danger, she exuded calm. Even in chaos, she was a force of authority. And he realized that perhaps her people had not lost power. They had only been waiting for the right moment to reclaim it. The enemy ship struck again, but Jerk and the queen's combined efforts forced it into retreat. Sensors indicated it had withdrawn, likely awaiting reinforcements. The ship's alarms faded, replaced by the steady hum of engines. Jerk exhaled, running a hand through his hair. That was close. The queen turned to him, expression unreadable. Close is a matter of perspective. You survived because you adapted. Many of your species would have panicked. That is why I see potential in you, human, and why you will need to remain vigilant. They will not stop here. The next few hours passed in tense silence. The crew worked to repair minor damage, check weapon systems, and ensure the queen remained unharmed. Jerk stayed near, observing her, learning the subtleties of her movements, the calm confidence that seemed to radiate from her. Eventually, she spoke again. Your people are strong, human, stronger than I was told. And yet your instincts are different. You do not rely solely on technology or weapons. You rely on intuition, observation, and resilience. That is why you have survived. That is why I trust you to protect me." Jerk felt a surge of pride, tempered by caution. Trust was a heavy responsibility, and he understood the weight of it. "I will not fail you," he said. "Not while I draw breath." The queen regarded him silently for a long moment, then nodded slightly. "Very well. But understand this, our journey has only begun. The galaxy is not as it appears. Enemies lurk in shadows, allies may betray, and power is often a mask for weakness. You must be ready for what lies ahead." Jerk's mind raced. He had expected danger, yes, but not the depth of intrigue and treachery the queen hinted at. And yet, there was a spark of excitement in him, a realization that this mission was unlike any he had faced before. As the ship sailed through the endless stars, the queen began to reveal fragments of her civilization's history. Her people, once rulers of multiple sectors, had been reduced by internal strife and external conspiracies. Powerful factions within her own species had turned against her, spreading lies to weaken her claim to leadership. And her supposed infertility had been one of the cruelest of these lies, used to strip her of authority and isolate her from allies. Jerk listened intently, absorbing the information. The queen's voice was calm, almost detached, but beneath it lay the weight of generations, of a civilization on the brink. "They do not understand what they have done," she said. "By trying to suppress me, they have underestimated the resolve of both my people and those who protect me." He nodded, feeling the responsibility more acutely than ever. The galaxy might see humans as insignificant, as unpredictable, but he knew their resourcefulness could turn the tide. "Then we will show them," he said firmly. "We will prove that underestimating anyone, alien or human, is a mistake." For hours they spoke in quiet tones, sharing knowledge and understanding. The queen's insights into strategy, diplomacy, and survival were invaluable, and Jerk's perspective as a human, an engineer, and a soldier offered new ways to think about problems. It was an exchange of ideas, a fusion of skill and intellect that promised more than mere survival. It promised hope. As the stars stretched endlessly outside the viewing panels, Jerk realized that the queen's survival was only the beginning. There were enemies waiting, plans unfolding in the darkness, and challenges they could not yet see. But with her intelligence and his ingenuity, they had a real chance, to change the course of history. And in that quiet, suspended moment between stars, human and queen understood the unspoken truth. Together, they could be more than their enemies expected. Together, they could defy predictions, overcome threats, and prove that strength, courage, and intelligence were not limited by species. The journey ahead was dangerous, uncertain, and filled with unseen enemies, but for the first time, Jerk felt the thrill of purpose. The galaxy was vast, mysterious, and unforgiving, but they would meet it head-on. And somewhere in the shadows of distant systems, those who had tried to end the queen's life waited, unaware that the human by her side was not just a protector, but a force capable of rewriting the rules of engagement entirely. The stars outside the viewing panels stretched into lines as the ship moved through hyperspace, carrying both the human and the alien queen deeper into unknown regions of space. Captain Jerk stood in the control room, scanning incoming signals and analyzing data. Despite the calm hum of the engines, tension gripped him. The attack at the station had been just the beginning. Somewhere far away, enemies were plotting, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The queen's chamber was quiet, but Jerk knew she did not truly rest. She moved among her small group of attendants with grace and precision, checking instruments, reviewing records, and quietly studying the ship's systems. Even when alone, she radiated authority. Jerk watched her from the doorway, noting how calm she remained despite the danger. Her people had survived centuries of treachery and conflict, and she carried that history with every step. He entered the room carefully. "Your Majesty, we are approaching the outer rim of the sector," he said. "Sensors are detecting multiple signals, ships, some civilian, some military. Nothing clearly hostile, but unusual traffic patterns suggest surveillance." The queen did not turn immediately. She moved to the viewing panel and let her eyes sweep across the distant points of light. "They are watching," she said quietly, almost to herself. "The forces that pursued me will not relent. They seek not only my life, but the knowledge I carry. If they reach it first, my species may be lost forever." Jerk stepped closer. "Then we need to be ready. We can't let them touch you or whatever secrets you hold." She turned her golden eyes to him, sharp and unyielding. The human is cautious, that is good, but caution alone is not enough. We will need strategy, precision, and creativity. Are you prepared for that? I am, he said firmly, and I will prove it. I've never met anyone like you, Your Majesty, but I promise together we can outsmart them. A small smile flickered across her face, almost imperceptible. We shall see, human, we shall see. The ship emerged from hyperspace into a dense asteroid belt, the sunlight glinting off jagged rocks that drifted lazily through space. Jerk piloted the ship carefully, weaving through the massive stones while scanning for any signs of pursuit. It was quiet for a moment, almost serene, but both of them knew the calm would not last. The Queen joined him at the controls, her fingers brushing lightly over the panels. This region is ideal for ambushes, she said. They will use the rocks for cover, strike from unexpected angles, but we can turn this to our advantage. The smaller and more unpredictable we are, the harder we are to hit. Jerk nodded, impressed by her strategic thinking. Then we will use their own methods against them, he said. Stay close, I don't want you exposed. Minutes later, a series of warning alarms blared through the ship. On the main display, several ships appeared, sleek and black, slipping between the asteroids like predators. Their weapons glinted in the light, and they moved with deadly precision. They are here, the Queen said calmly, though her eyes sharpened. They seek to trap us. We must be unpredictable. Jerk's hands moved quickly across the controls, altering the ship's trajectory while deploying decoy drones and activating shields. The enemy ships fired, but the asteroids provided cover, causing most blasts to miss. Sparks flew across the hull as minor impacts rattled the ship. This is going to get rough, Jerk muttered under his breath. The Queen observed the enemy's formation and spoke rapidly. 3 ships will attempt a flanking maneuver. 2 will force us into a narrow corridor between asteroids. You will need to act first, predict their path, then exploit the opening they leave. Jerk adjusted their trajectory, following her guidance. The first enemy ship moved as predicted, trying to push them toward a tight pass. But Jerk twisted the ship at the last moment, sending it careening past an asteroid that shielded them from the remaining attackers. Energy blasts struck the rocks, sending debris hurtling through space. The Queen's attendants worked alongside Jerk, operating secondary controls and weapons. Together, they created a chaotic, moving defense that left the enemy disoriented. The black ships collided with one another in their own confusion, suffering damage and retreating temporarily. As the immediate threat faded, Jerk exhaled, leaning back in his seat. That was close, too close. The Queen turned to him, her expression thoughtful. Close is a matter of perspective. You reacted well. Many of your kind would have panicked, yet you adapted. That is why you survived, and why I see potential in you. Her words filled Jerk with a mixture of pride and unease. He had always known humans were underestimated in the galaxy, but now he understood just how dangerous that underestimation could be for anyone who crossed the wrong path. Hours later, they found a small, hidden station on a nearby asteroid, a place of refuge and repair. Jerk guided the ship inside a narrow docking bay, ensuring no sensors outside could detect them. The Queen disembarked, her attendants following, and the humans began repairing the hull and updating shields. Inside the station, the Queen finally spoke more openly about her people. We are survivors, she said, walking among the workshops and storage bays. Our civilization once ruled multiple sectors. We were known for our intelligence, our strategy, and our resilience. But betrayal weakened us, internal strife shattered alliances, and our enemies spread lies about me to claim power for themselves. They said I could not produce heirs, that I was no longer a threat. Lies are a weapon, human, and now those lies have placed me in your hands. Jerk listened carefully, feeling the weight of her words. The Queen's intelligence and insight were remarkable, but she had also endured betrayal and loss. Then we will not let them succeed, he said firmly. Your enemies underestimate both of us, and that will be their mistake. A faint smile appeared on her face. Perhaps. But you must understand something, human. Strength is not always measured by weapons or technology. The ability to anticipate, to adapt, to survive, that is the true measure of power. Your kind is capable of this, even if many in the galaxy fail to see it. Their conversation was interrupted by a subtle vibration running through the floor. Sensors detected movement outside the station, shadows slipping along the rocky exterior. Jerk drew his sidearm, moving quickly to secure the entrances. They are here again, the Queen said, her tone calm but firm. "This time they will not be so easily fooled. You will need to act decisively." Jerk and the Queen moved through the station together, coordinating defenses and preparing for an imminent attack. Drones activated, automated turrets hummed to life, and the few human technicians present prepared weapons and shields. Minutes later, a team of enemy infiltrators broke through a weak point in the station's outer wall. They were fast, silent, and deadly. Jerk fired his weapon, taking down 2 of the attackers before they could reach the main chamber. The Queen moved with him, her attendants using energy barriers to block entrances and guide intruders into traps. The battle was chaotic, but the human and Queen worked in perfect coordination. Every move they made complemented the other's strategy. Jerk's quick thinking and technical skills, combined with the Queen's tactical brilliance, allowed them to repel the intruders without any serious harm to the crew or the station. When the last intruder was neutralized, Jerk leaned against a console, catching his breath. "That was intense." The Queen looked at him, her golden eyes calm but piercing. "Yes, and it will happen again. You must understand, human, that those who underestimated me will not stop until they achieve their goal. You and your people must be prepared to face danger, deception, and relentless pursuit. Only then can we survive." Jerk nodded, feeling the truth in her words. "I understand, and I will not fail you." For the first time, the Queen allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. "You have courage, human, and that courage will be tested. But together, perhaps we can accomplish what alone we never could. Perhaps we can change the course of history." As the ship's systems were repaired and the station secured, Jerk realized the journey ahead would be long and fraught with peril. But he also knew something crucial. The Queen was not merely a passenger to protect. She was a force, intelligent and capable, and together they were a team capable of defying the galaxy's expectations. Outside, the stars shimmered, distant and unchanging, but the galaxy was far from quiet. Enemies waited, alliances shifted, and the shadow of danger stretched across countless systems. And yet, inside the small station on the asteroid, human and Queen stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Somewhere deep in the void, those who had tried to end the Queen's life prepared for their next move. But they underestimated one thing. The human by her side was no ordinary protector. He was a mind capable of thinking beyond conventional limits, a spirit willing to take risks, and a heart unyielding in the face of impossible odds. The stars outside the ship stretched into thin lines as it raced through hyperspace, carrying both Captain Jerk and the alien Queen toward their next destination. The previous skirmishes had made one thing clear: their enemies were relentless. Whoever had attacked the docking station, the asteroid outpost, and pursued them through the asteroid belt would not rest until they captured or destroyed the Queen. Jerk stood in the control room, hands steady on the console, eyes scanning sensor readings. The fleet approaching their sector was unlike anything he had seen before, sleek, heavily armed, and coordinated with precision. "They've brought reinforcements," he said quietly. "And this time they mean business." The Queen joined him at the controls, her attendants forming a small circle behind her, ready to respond. Her golden eyes scanned the tactical displays, and Jerk could see the calculations forming in her mind. "Numbers alone do not determine victory," she said calmly. "Predictability determines failure. We must act where they least expect it." Jerk nodded. He had learned from her that intelligence and creativity often outweighed sheer force. "Then let's show them that humans and allies cannot be underestimated." They emerged from hyperspace near a small system, a cluster of planets and moons providing natural cover. The Queen studied the map carefully. "This system offers strategic advantages: asteroids, planetary rings, and hidden corridors of space. We will use it to split their fleet, isolate their forces, and force them into disadvantage." Jerk adjusted the ship's trajectory. "I'll handle the maneuvers, but I'll need your guidance on timing and positioning." She nodded, a rare flicker of approval in her expression. "Good. Observe, anticipate, act. That is the rhythm of survival." As they approached the outer edge of the system, sensors detected the enemy fleet moving to encircle them. Jerk felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. They were heavily outnumbered, and any mistake could be fatal. Yet the Queen's calm presence beside him gave him confidence he had never felt before. "They expect fear," she said quietly. "Do not give them that. Fear clouds judgment." Jerk's fingers flew across the controls, weaving the ship through asteroid fields and debris with skill born of both experience and necessity. Energy blasts streaked past them, scattering into space as shields absorbed the impact. The enemy ships were precise, but their movements were predictable once the Queen's calculations were factored in. "Now," she shouted suddenly. "Divide the fleet, draw half toward the outer moons, lead the others into the asteroid field." Jerk executed the maneuver with precision. Some enemy ships followed blindly, drawn by the apparent retreat, while others were forced into the treacherous asteroid belt. Turrets on their ship activated, targeting those trapped against massive asteroids. Explosions lit the darkness as enemy ships collided with debris or were struck by calculated fire. The Queen's attendants managed auxiliary systems, controlling drones and energy barriers to maximize the defensive and offensive potential of the ship. Jerk realized that what they had here was not just a human crew protecting a queen. They were a coordinated force capable of turning desperation into strategy. An enemy vessel broke free from the pack and charged directly at them, weapons glowing with lethal energy. Jerk felt the surge of adrenaline. He had seconds to act. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," he shouted, the Queen's voice cut through the tension. "Aim for their exposed flank, predict their path, then intercept." Jerk twisted the ship at the last moment, guiding it through a narrow pass between two massive asteroids. The enemy ship fired, but its energy blast struck rock, exploding harmlessly into fragments. Using the opening, Jerk and the Queen launched a coordinated counterstrike. Energy pulses struck the enemy's hull, causing a cascade of sparks and explosions that left it drifting uselessly through space. The remaining enemy ships hesitated, regrouping. The Queen's sharp eyes scanned the fleet. "They are cautious now, but not defeated. They will test us, probe for weakness. You must not falter." Jerk's fingers danced over the controls, adjusting shields, firing turrets, and deploying decoy drones. Each move was precise, calculated, and unpredictable. "They won't see the next maneuver coming," he muttered. The Queen's voice was calm, guiding him. "Use the planetary rings. Their sensors will be blinded by debris and gravitational distortion. Lead them into the path of our drones. Make them fight chaos, not order." Minutes passed in a blur of energy blasts, rapid maneuvers, and constant calculation. Jerk felt sweat trickle down his temple as the ship twisted and dodged, narrowly avoiding collisions and strikes. And through it all, the Queen remained calm, observing every movement, predicting every possible outcome. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, the enemy fleet broke formation. Some ships fled, others were damaged beyond repair, and a few lingered in the shadows, uncertain of how to proceed. The immediate threat was over, but Jerk knew it was only a temporary victory. The Queen turned to him, her expression unreadable but her golden eyes shining with quiet approval. "You have performed well, human. Many would have panicked. You adapted. That is why we survived." Jerk allowed himself a brief smile, though his mind remained focused. "We survived because of you, Your Majesty. I could not have done it alone." She inclined her head slightly. "Perhaps not, but together we are capable of more than you realize. This is the essence of partnership, strategy, trust, and adaptability you have learned quickly." The ship entered a quiet orbit around one of the system's moons, giving the crew a chance to assess damage and make repairs. Sparks flickered across panels, and Jerk moved from console to console, checking the integrity of systems, shields, and weapons. The Queen followed, observing, asking questions, and providing insights that even he had not considered. As repairs continued, the Queen spoke more about her people and the stakes of their mission. "My species has faced extinction before. Internal strife, political betrayal, and external conquest nearly wiped us from existence. Lies were spread to weaken me personally, claims of infertility, incompetence, and loss of influence. But those lies underestimate the strength and resilience that runs in my blood." Jerk listened closely. "Then your enemies will regret underestimating you and us," he said. Her golden eyes studied him. "Perhaps, but understanding is only the first step. Action is what proves capability. You must not only protect me, but also act decisively when the moment comes. Hesitation can cost more than a life. It can cost an entire species." The human nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had known the mission would be dangerous, but now he realized its full magnitude. Every decision, every maneuver, every moment of hesitation could ripple across galaxies. And yet, He also knew that their combined intelligence and resourcefulness could overcome even overwhelming odds. Outside the ship, enemy scouts continued to patrol, probing for weaknesses. Jerk monitored their signals, anticipating moves before they were made. The Queen offered guidance, her insights invaluable, and together they planned the next stage of their mission, reaching a secure system where the Queen's knowledge and influence could be safely utilized. Hours turned into days as they navigated the system, avoiding patrols, outsmarting enemy sensors, and exploiting every natural feature for protection. The humans' engineering skills kept the ship in perfect working order, while the Queen's strategic genius ensured they never walked into traps. Finally, they approached the outskirts of the system, a cluster of hidden planets, uncharted and untouched by large fleets. Here they could rest, regroup, and plan their next move. Jerk guided the ship into a concealed orbit, and for the first time since the attacks began, there was a moment of calm. The Queen walked to the viewing panel, golden eyes reflecting distant stars. "We have survived another trial," she said softly. "But this is only the beginning. Our enemies will continue to pursue us, and greater dangers lie ahead. You must be prepared for challenges that test not only skill but resolve, creativity, and courage." Jerk stepped beside her. "I am ready," he said. "Whatever comes, we face it together." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Yes, together. That is the strength of partnership. And sometimes, human, you will find that the smallest spark of ingenuity can change the course of entire battles. Remember that, adaptability is power." As the stars shimmered in the void, both human and Queen understood the truth. Their journey was far from over. Enemies waited in the darkness, plotting and scheming, but they had faced the impossible and survived. They had outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and overcome threats that would have crushed lesser beings. And together, they would continue to defy expectations, proving that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest odds. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and unpredictable, filled with dangers, secrets, and opportunities. But Jerk and the Queen stood ready, side by side, prepared to face whatever lay ahead. Somewhere in the darkness, the forces that had pursued the Queen plotted their next move, unaware that the human and alien duo they sought to destroy were not just survivors. They were a force capable of shaping the fate of entire civilizations. And as the stars wheeled endlessly around them, human and Queen knew one undeniable truth. Underestimation was a mistake no one would make twice. The silence of deep space pressed against the ship like a heavy cloak, broken only by the soft hum of the engines. Captain Jerk stood at the control panel, watching distant star systems as they approached the coordinates the Queen had provided. It was a hidden world, untouched by fleets, a place where her knowledge and influence could be safeguarded. But he knew that their enemies would not allow them even a moment of peace. The alien Queen moved beside him, her golden eyes focused and unwavering. Her attendants hovered near, ready to respond to any threat. Jerk felt a renewed sense of determination. Every challenge they had faced had prepared them for this moment. The final confrontation was coming, and it would decide not only their survival but the fate of her species. "Captain," the Queen said softly, her voice carrying authority and clarity, "they will strike. The forces that have pursued me will not relent until they seize what I carry. This is the decisive moment. Are you prepared to act without hesitation?" Jerk nodded firmly. "I am ready. We've survived before. We'll survive now, and we'll make sure they regret underestimating us." The ship's sensors flickered as an enormous fleet materialized just beyond the planetary system. The ships were dark, angular, and bristling with weapons, their numbers far exceeding anything Jerk had faced before. A shiver of tension ran down his spine. Even with the Queen's guidance, this would be a dangerous engagement. "They are confident," the Queen said, her tone calm but sharp. "They believe they hold the advantage, but advantage is fleeting when one does not anticipate unpredictability. Use the terrain, use the fleet against itself. They are bound by assumptions. We are bound only by strategy." Jerk quickly plotted a course through the asteroid belts and dense gas clouds of the system, using natural features to mask their movements. The enemy fleet began to move toward them, falling into patterns that were predictable and exploitable. "Prepare all systems," Jerk ordered. "Shields at maximum, weapons ready, drones deployed. Every maneuver counts." The Queen nodded, stepping forward to coordinate the defense. "Remember, human," she said, Their numbers do not make them superior. Their reliance on repetition and expectation will be their downfall. Anticipate their moves, then act where they least expect it. The first wave of enemy ships entered the system, weapons charged and engines glowing. Jerk guided their ship through a tight asteroid field, using the natural cover to mask their position. Energy blasts streaked past, impacting rocks and sending debris into space. The Queen's voice was calm and commanding. Lead the outer ships into the field, draw them toward the traps, use the gravitational pull of the moons to force them into tight corridors. Do not hesitate. Jerk adjusted the ship's trajectory, narrowly avoiding collisions while luring the enemy as she had instructed. Automated drones launched from the ship, guided by the Queen's attendants, creating obstacles and false targets that forced the enemy into dangerous paths. Several ships collided with asteroids, while others were trapped in narrow gaps and struck by coordinated fire from their own drones. "Excellent," the Queen said quietly, observing the chaos. "They will learn too late that they underestimated us." Jerk's hands moved rapidly over the controls, deploying countermeasures, activating energy pulses, and redirecting drones to exploit weaknesses. "They're trying to flank us," he said, eyes scanning the sensors. "Two ships are attempting to bypass the field entirely." "Predict their path," the Queen instructed. "Anticipate, then intercept. Strike decisively, then retreat. They will not adapt quickly." Following her instructions, Jerk maneuvered their ship to intercept the flanking vessels. Energy blasts from their ship struck with precision, damaging one ship and forcing the other to retreat. The rest of the enemy fleet, still trapped in the asteroid field, was unable to regroup effectively. Even as they fought, Jerk could feel the stakes pressing down on him. Every movement, every decision could determine the Queen's survival, and by extension, the survival of her people. He pushed aside fear and exhaustion, focusing entirely on the moment. Minutes passed, the battle raging around them. The Queen's insights continued to guide him. "They rely on fear and intimidation," she said. "They do not anticipate ingenuity. Use that. Turn their strategy against them." Jerk acted, luring another wave of ships into a corridor between two massive asteroids. Their own energy blasts, combined with gravitational pull and debris, caused a chain reaction. Ships collided, engines exploded, and one by one, the enemy fleet began to falter. Finally, after a tense series of maneuvers, the surviving enemy ships withdrew, retreating toward the edge of the system. Jerk's body trembled with exhaustion, but relief washed over him. The immediate danger had passed, but he knew this was not the end. The Queen turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting both admiration and calculation. "You have performed beyond expectation, human. Many of your kind would have faltered. You adapted, anticipated, and acted decisively. That is why we survived." Jerk allowed himself a brief smile. "We survived because we worked together. I couldn't have done it alone." She inclined her head slightly. "Together, we are capable of more than either of us alone. Remember this, human. Strategy, intelligence, and courage can overcome overwhelming odds, and you have proven all three today." After the battle, they landed on the hidden planet the Queen had identified. It was lush and untouched, with forests, rivers, and mountains. The air was breathable, and the planet's atmosphere provided natural protection. Here, she could safely reveal the full truth of her abilities. Jerk watched as she moved through the alien landscape, her presence commanding yet graceful. She stopped by a shimmering pool of water, looking at her reflection. "You must understand, human," she said. "My claim of infertility was a lie, a political tool used to weaken me and isolate me from allies. I possess a rare genetic ability that allows me to ensure the survival of my species. If our enemies had known this, they would have attempted to kill me sooner." Jerk stepped closer. "Then we have done more than protect you. We've preserved the future of your people." She nodded, golden eyes meeting his. "Yes, and now the choice is ours. With your guidance and my knowledge, we can rebuild, reclaim, and protect my species. But this requires courage, ingenuity, and trust, qualities you have shown in abundance." The Queen led him to a hidden chamber beneath the planet's surface. Ancient records, star maps, and advanced technology were stored there, untouched for centuries. "This is the foundation of my people's knowledge," she said. "With it, we can defend ourselves, expand influence, and ensure no one ever threatens us again." Jerk studied the technology, fascinated. "This is incredible. Your people's knowledge, combined with human adaptability, could change the galaxy." she smiled faintly. And that is why your species is important. Humans think differently. You act unpredictably. You find solutions where others see none. That is why I trusted you and why together we have prevailed. Over the following days, they worked tirelessly to integrate human technology with the Queen's ancient knowledge. Jerk led engineering teams, modifying systems to withstand future attacks and enhance mobility. The Queen trained her attendants in strategy, diplomacy, and the use of advanced tools. Together, they created a force that could defend the planet and project influence across nearby systems. As their preparations continued, scouts reported movement at the edge of the sector. An enemy vessel approached cautiously, testing the defenses. Jerk and the Queen watched the holographic displays, analyzing the situation. "They do not understand what we have created here," the Queen said. "They believe fear and numbers will prevail. They do not anticipate ingenuity, adaptability, or resilience." Jerk grinned. "Then we'll show them. Let's make them regret underestimating us." The enemy vessel moved closer, unaware of the traps, drones, and energy barriers waiting. When it fired, the defenses activated instantly. Energy pulses disabled weapons, drones intercepted missiles, and gravitational traps forced the ship into a collision course with an asteroid. The enemy vessel was destroyed, its retreating signal broadcasting their failure. The Queen turned to Jerk, a look of satisfaction on her face. "You see, human, strength is not only measured by numbers or power. It is measured by intelligence, courage, and the will to survive. Today we have shown the galaxy that humans and my people are forces to be reckoned with." Jerk's chest swelled with pride. "We did it, together." Golden eyes met his, calm yet fierce. "Yes, together. And remember this, human. In the galaxy, no one should underestimate those who adapt, endure, and act with courage. Your species embodies all of that, and now so do we." From the safety of the hidden planet, human and Queen looked to the stars. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers, opportunities, and challenges yet to come. But they had survived the impossible, defeated a powerful fleet, and preserved the future of a species. Somewhere far away, those who had plotted against the Queen waited in uncertainty, unaware that they had been outmatched not by brute force, but by intelligence, strategy, and human ingenuity. And they would think twice before underestimating anyone again. The Queen placed her hand on Jerk's shoulder, a rare gesture of trust and acknowledgement. "The future is not written, human, but together we will ensure it is shaped by those who deserve to lead, by courage, wisdom, and determination." Jerk nodded, feeling the weight and honor of her words. The journey had been perilous, but it had also proven that humans could rise to challenges no one expected. And with the Queen at his side, he knew that no obstacle was insurmountable. The stars stretched infinitely before them, bright and endless, a galaxy of possibilities awaiting those brave enough to seize them. And together, human and Queen would face whatever came next, proving that determination, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the greatest of odds.